that music and the legalese means we're ready for another episode of Trade Masters. Trade Masters brought to you by TackleTrading.com, where two experienced coaches, traders, come together and bring us a bunch of trade ideas midweek. I've loved it. It's treated me right over the months we've been doing this. I've really appreciated the hard work, the thought, drawing from experience, and it's just pleasant. You know, we got a bunch of pleasant individuals at Tackle Trading. Among those two of the most pleasant, I'm excited about tonight's matchup. You got old money Greg Holmes, and you got Frank Martin, who's a classic technician. This is a battle of absolute, just fundamental chalk here tonight, you know, bringing you nothing but this is a steak and potatoes edition of Trade Masters.
It really is. One thing I've noticed about Greg and myself, and welcome out Team Tackle. Great to see you. Hope you've had a great week. Greg and I either usually really agree or really disagree. It's almost never, I kind of see it, but it seems like that's where we are, Greg.
It's like wrestling. One of us got to be the heel, one of us got to be the hero. There's no in between.
Most of the time we're the tag team champs, right? Let's not get it twisted, right? Yeah. But sometimes we have to feud a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited about what tonight brings, and let's get it. Frank, as defending champ, you've been winning this couple weeks in a row now. You get to decide who goes first.
Feel the pressure. I feel the pressure. I'll go ahead and go first this evening. I suppose I'll let Greg think about it. Maybe I'll get in his head a little bit, and we'll see how that treats me, Greg.
All I can say, Frank, is be afraid, be very afraid, be in my head.
Fair enough. And I'd like to start with Marvel tonight, MRVL.
Why did that come up? MRVL. All right, a little dyslexic tonight, kids.
Yeah, that's all right.
That looks better. I don't know what the hell that other thing was.
Sometimes it was just it was a good way to make this one look better. I appreciate you looking out, Greg. Marvel, nothing crazy here. Hanging out at its all-time high resistance that we put in back in January. I remember back when Gino was putting together his 5G list. You know, we were talking, and this was one of the stocks that I liked the most in that area. That was what, Mark? Probably 2 years ago, year and a half, something like that. It's been a while. It's been a strong area. These guys have certainly been a strong performer, consolidating, as you can see here, over the last week or so at that old resistance. We were running hot and heavy into resistance, and everybody who knows me knows I always want to take some sort of a break when we get to resistance. I love the fact that we've really gone sideways over the last week or so. I think it opens the door for pretty easy identification where to get in. At least a sensible location for a relatively decent stop loss. And I think targeting wise, I think these guys, I think 60 is very, very possible. And I wouldn't be opposed to trying to go a little bit beyond that. But with it being the summer, I'm going to be a little more conservative on targets, and I'm going to go for 60 on the target. Entry wise, I think we just need to take out the top of this little bunch of candles that we've seen here. I think to give us the exact number, that is 55.41. I believe need to break that by my rule, your rule, Greg's rule, whoever's rule, right? Need to take out that resistance level. On the stop side of things, I think we can get the 9 EMA and the bottom of this fairly, not super consistent base, but not inconsistent either, which would put us somewhere down below, we'll call it 54.25, maybe $54 for a minimum stop loss. At least for me, I'd like to get that cluster of candles with a little bit of movement or even just normal passage of time. I should be able to get to 9 EMA for a stop loss as well. Marvel, I think, probably fits best just for an equity play. I think this is probably the type of stock that I just roll with the shares. When in doubt, I don't mess around. So it would be a stock play for me, Greg. What do you think? That's my pitch on Marvel here.
Yeah, it's, like you said, sometimes we're the tag team champions. I can't argue with that. I love the setup. It's been showing strong. It's a good sector. Just technical, as Mark said when we started this thing. You are a master technician, and this is a technical. It's a very pretty pattern. So hard to beat that one for sure.
Wow.
Came out swinging, I guess.
Goodness gracious. All that trash talking until we get a beautiful chart with a clear breakout level in which you have to say, Yeah. Even if I wanted to trash talk, I can't trash talk.
Hey, you just dunked on me, but I'm about to return the favor here.
I like it.
I'm gonna shoot. I'm gonna shoot 5-hole on him and score the game winner.
And
So
the one thing that I've learned about traders, because like you take Frank, me, and Greg, we got like some really different big picture ways of how we approach the market. But technical analysis is a common language that binds us all.
Mhm.
And I don't know anybody who doesn't love a clear breakout level, regardless of how big picture macro attack the market. We all love a clean breakout level, and that one's got one. So it's hard to say anything negative, right? Greg, all right. Good
all right, well,
opening punch by Frank.
Yeah, speaking of breakouts, I'm gonna go back to my old stalwart here. I think every trade master I've ever done, I've brought up this stock, so why stop now?
And it's treated well. I have made a few AXP trades over the stretch based on your analysis.
It's again really hard to beat, man. It's just this thing just wants to step up, and every time it does, you make money on it. So it's hard to beat as far as I'm concerned. So really very basic analysis here as well. We've come up, we've hit this level, we got some sideways chop. Even when the markets got ugly, this really didn't get that ugly. A little bit of a gap down here, big strong return, and bam, right pushing back up to that 167 level. So we've got a clear breakout here as well. Anywhere in above this 167.14 I like. Stop loss wise, I'd love to get her down below this 20 MA here. You're about a $3.25 ATR. So that might be a little bit far down for some folks, but I think even below this candle here, which is 162.5, I think that's a good spot to put a stop loss. Now the trade I like most on this, again, this is a little bit higher dollar stock, so you're probably not going to do a stock trade here. But the trade that I do like on this is we're in the ballpark now where we got just below 60 days if we go out to August. And I personally, because we've got some earnings coming up, I don't expect to be in this trade for that length of time, but we've still got exactly a month in this trade. So we'll give ourselves enough time that fade is not going to, kick us in the teeth. And just a simple bull call. Our implied volatility here, if I throw that bad, well, actually it's already on there. Don't even need to do that. So we look at implied volatility here. It's low and it's going to fall, but it doesn't have much further to fall. So I wouldn't expect that to hurt our long options too much. So yeah, like I said, just a very simple trade here. I like to go in the money at the 165 here. I want to sell the 175 because that's where I believe it can get to. You're looking at $4 to make, what is that, about 6, somewhere in that ballpark there. If I can get to the risk profile here. So yeah, you're risking 401 to make 599 or 600. Now this is one where, because of the time of year, the seasonality that Frank alluded to, I wouldn't actually let this go to expiration, or I wouldn't let it go to max loss. I would probably pick that stop loss that I talked about here, say the 162, and look at the 162 here. We'll get this a little bit further out so we can see it better. I would have a tap out point around 162, 162.5. That way you're risking, say, $100 if it happened tomorrow, a little bit more as time passes. And you're shooting for that 600 if it gets to 175. I fully believe that your first target is absolutely 170 and beyond. You're within an ATR already, so I believe that you'll get beyond 170, and 175 being a nice round number makes a lot of sense to me. There's nothing else slowing you down, so you got to start looking at those round numbers to see where a reasonable target is. Obviously, there's a million other ways to target. That's just the one I like, and it's works pretty well for me. So, like I said, very simple bull call spread trade here. XLF is starting to make a comeback a little bit here, which is nice to see. Got a little bit of work to do. These financials, this one and a couple others in this space stayed very, very strong throughout that pullback we had recently. So that's my trade that's my first salvo, if you will.
Yeah, no, I mean, outperformance, clearly from the sector itself, right? What I like about when an individual company outperforms a sector that gets a jolt is if the sector picks up, well, the stock can go, right? if the sector just does nothing, the stock can go. I like it. So you can you can win on sector strength and you can win on individual strength. So I like that relative outperformance. And once again, a clean breakout level. A clean breakout level.
Sure.
I mean, Frank, anything to add on that?
What I like about it is it gives you options. I like what Greg did with the stop loss, but I think with something that looks like this, it gives us a little bit of a tighter option if that's the route we want to go. Using, either today's/yesterday's low, we've got an intraday trend that we could probably start to use. So while I prefer a little wider stop loss, I like having the option of a little tighter stop loss. So the entry is clean, can't argue with the performance. I always like options, and I think these guys present us one.
Wonderful. Just wonderful. Hey, listen, I've loved both picks, right? Like if I want some directional movement, if I'm feeling frisky, I got clean breakout levels. But the question always after round one, Greg, when you show up is, will I like your joke?
Yeah, I'm usually batting about 500 on those, I think. So let me see if I
which in baseball would get you in the Hall of Fame. So
that's right. Actually, even 200 points less than that get me in the Hall of Fame. But anyway, let's see if I can up that ante this time around. I got hit in the head with a can of Diet Coke today. Don't worry, I'm not hurt. It was a soft drink.
It's pretty corny, but it's not.
A little dad joke to start the day.
I like it.
I'm breaking you guys in easy because I got a couple of bar jokes that.
Okay. Listen, I like starting out with something that I can tell my daughter, right? So. All right, Frankie, what you got for us round two?
All right. Well, I'm going to kind of piggyback a little bit off of Greg, except I'm going to look at Visa.
Oh, you sidewinder. I had this one too.
I think so. They're different enough that you could maybe trade them both, but they're the same enough that I think you can compare them a little bit. Visa, much like American Express, performed very well, held up really well. They're in the tech sector officially, right? So they kind of have that little finance tech kick, however you want to word it. Got a nice little cup and handle that has formed over the last couple of months, working into that resistance level here today. I'm looking at these guys. We all know what a cup and handle is, right? It's a continuation pattern, and probability would suggest that if we can break that resistance, we will take another leg to the upside. That is going to be my expectation with Visa here as well. I like Visa directionally, and I think really there's two ways that kind of jump out to me. Either just the equity, which I'm always about, as you know, Mark. I'm very open to trading shares of the stock for the simplicity of it, but I also like a bull call here potentially on Visa as well. Very similar to kind of what Greg was thinking with his American Express. You mind taking a peek here at those options, Greg? And again, we are going to have to deal with some earnings coming up and would want to be out of them. Anything standing out to you, Greg, on the option side of things here? I'd probably look into either August or September.
Yeah, you got both choices here. So you got 86 days or you got 58 days. It's up to you.
Yeah, I'd probably go into the September. I'm always pick up a little more time than you think you need when it comes to any directional based trade and hope I don't need it or want it. These guys, I don't know about you, Greg, but I usually start about with the same thing. I'd start with the call option, which would be right at or a little bit in the money. So either the 230 or the 235. And I try to create a net delta of approximately 0.25 to 0.30. Want to make sure I have a net delta, but the long versus short delta. So I have a little bit of directional movement that I could work with. So if we went the 230, we could go into the 245, which would make some sense. We could widen it out too if we wanted to take on a little more risk for a little more reward, right? That's what I love about the debit spread is they do give us that flexibility, but that's kind of where I would line up here. How are we looking here? I have a target price in mind of 250 is kind of the main target, I would say, with 255, 256. Based on the way I target this pattern, 256 would be the secondary target. That's just kind of taking that high from back in April to that low from early May. So working into the 255 range, what does that look like for us here, Greg? Something you could sign you up for?
255, so you'd run into about up there somewhere. Nice little spot there if we look at the Analyze tab. So anywhere above, obviously anywhere above 245, you're making full boat on this bull call spread. So
I'm interested in that. On the stop loss side of things, if we take out this pivot, this low that we put in our handle, which is going to put us 220, let's call it two. I'm going to get us an exact number here. 228, it looks like. So if we took out 228, we're breaking the low, we're breaking below all of the short term and the 50-day moving average. So that would be whether I was playing, however I was playing it, quite honestly, stock, options, whatever strategy it is. If that were to give out, I would want to tap out and walk away. So that's where I would look to move out of this trade on the downside.
Yeah, so you'd be risking buck 60 for potential 800. Nice little setup there.
You talked me into it. Yeah, so I was waiting for you to talk me into going the spread over. I was thinking that's the route to go with it being so expensive. But I'm always interested in hearing somebody who does more options, I think, than I do. I always like to get their take on things.
Yeah, so this was another one of the picks that I had. I just thought it was a fantastic setup. But I went with the 235 for a little bit less capital out.
Sure.
Because we're getting the break and we're actually, we're right there. Once we actually get in this, it's going to be around the 236 level. So you would be in the money at that point in time. I looked at the 235. It got me down to about $400. So just reduce the debit a little bit. Obviously reduces the reward a little bit as well, but still a good price to get. And especially, like you said, looking for that stop loss. If I throw this trade on, and then look at it exactly the same stop at the 282 level there. Let's make sure I got the right one here. We'll uncheck that one. And so, sorry, that was 228, I should say, not 282. So still you're risking $100 to make almost 600. So I don't think you can go wrong with a bull call spread here. I look at, again, the reason I find myself doing this, is because these two plays that we've looked at are directional and our implied volatility is low. So why fight I love doing credit spreads on higher dollar stocks like this, but if I'm not getting the payment, then what's the point, right? So
right.
Great setup. Again, I don't think you can go wrong with the strikes. I think it all comes down to your expectations of how far you think this can pop. My personal target for this was around 245. So that's where I kind of chose this. If you expected it to get to 256, which is completely possible, then you could even widen it out if you didn't mind putting out a little bit more money at the start. So
yeah, that's what I love about debit spreads. They're so customizable, right?
Yeah, very, very versatile.
I really do believe they're one of the strategies that people don't appreciate as much as they should. Everybody likes selling things for credit, right? Everybody likes buying calls. It seems like the debit spread's kind of the left out little brother. He's kind of like Tim in some ways.
Yeah.
We got 3 by the book trades. Greg, continue the streak.
All right. Well,
the one thing about the first 3 trades, let me make one comment. It's a comment that my brother Matt and Tim like to make all the time. Listen, you don't have to trade the hard charts. You don't have to trade the hard charts. You can trade the easy charts, and that's what I love about clean breakout levels. Straightforward.
Yeah. So, in honor of your brother Tim, my next candidate is one of his favorites for whatever reason. I've always been chirping him pretty hard about Salesforce here, but it's been proving me wrong lately anyway. So very easy setup here. High base. You can see I've drawn a bunch of lines here already. We're starting to get some pushback off of a much longer downtrend here, right? So we're starting to see these reversal characteristics. When you see this, the part I like when you start to see these reversal characteristics, and I know that in the stock report and the options report this past weekend, we had a number of these reversal type characteristics showing up. When you start to see this, what it gives you is it gives you the ability to catch a bunch of different moves, right? From a targeting perspective, right? It's kind of taking its beat down. It's starting to get up off the mat. Now we can start to play this in a hopefully a rewarding way. So again, very technical here, high base. Oh, I don't know what that's doing there. Sorry about that, folks. know what happened there. Don't know how to get rid of that actually. Just give me 1 second. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
We can.
Oh, you
Awesome.
got rid of it.
It's proof that you live in Canada. I now know the temperature in Canada.
There you go.
Of course, assuming I can read in Celsius, because Americans were stubborn on that.
I was just about to say, you might want to do the conversion. Anyway, so just looking for a break here. I like the entry about 240, 246.50. I'm not worried about this old stuff back here for the reason that we are within an ATR of this old resistance here. So that doesn't bother me as a trader. As I said, I like the fact that we start to get some other levels that come into play here, right? So I would say that our first target would be around the 265 range, this old resistance here. Like I said, I wouldn't fault folks if they thought about one around the 250 here. But like I said, if you get that break at 246, you're actually within an ATR of that 250. So just a normal day's movement could take you up through that price range. So I don't get too concerned about that myself. What I do like about it is, you get to that 265, 280, 285 is in play, obviously from a longer term perspective. So, again, I'd like to give you some other, brilliant kind of, 12-legged trade, but the reality is simple works. And I think that's what you were just saying, Mark. Low IV here. I like the bull call again. I just do. And again, I like to go a little bit shorter term with these things because I realize that with an ATR of almost $5 here, it isn't going to take that long to get to my target. And as long as I'm past that 30-day mark, then Theta's not kicking me in the teeth too much. So I don't mind going a little bit shorter term and saving some capital there. So on the CRM here, I was looking at the 240 and the 260 because that's where I expected to get 260, 240 bull call here. So you're looking at a $7 debit here. That's probably pretty rich for a lot of folks. We're going to look at a stop loss here so that doesn't have to be a limiting factor for folks. You're risking 7 to make 13. Like I said, I don't really like sitting there for the full boat loss on this. I want to find a spot here where I'm willing to tap out. And because we have this high base here, 238 and a half here, you get below all of these candles and these wicks as well. And you're sitting right on that 20 MA there as well. So lots of support there. If it breaks there, I would like to get out. And if we're looking at that there, what did I say? 238? Is that what I said? So 238, you're risking say $120 to potentially make 1,300 if it runs that far. Again, it may take a bit to get there, but really, from 245, that's only $15. That's like 3 ATRs. So this really doesn't take that long to get down to get through those 3 ATRs. So just another simple, not a crazy trade. Again, you can, if 700 bucks a contract is too much, again, as we said, they're versatile. You could turn around, do the 245. Well, not the 245 because that won't work. You could go out of the money. You can do all sorts of different things with these particular. You pretty much got $10 strikes here. So we could do the 250 up to the 260, and then you're reducing it down to $268. Now you've got we bring into play a lot more versatility here. If you wanted to just leave it at $268 and just let it ride, you can do that as well. So lots of options there, no pun intended. So
well, listen, you between the two of you, you've given me 4 nice directional plays. Each of you had one in tech, each of one had one in finance, all beautiful situations. Listen, this is going to be a 3-round Trade Masters because that is the chalk I expected out of 2 people with your experience. I never know what to expect on the joke, though, Greg. I really don't. So let's see what goes.
All right. Well, we had the dad joke.
We did have a nice soda dad joke.
I think I'll bring her back down to the gutter now. How is life like toilet paper?
I am fascinated to find out.
Well, you're either on a roll or you're taking shit from someone.
Well, you get points for that being the truth. So, you are. Is that that's very applicable to trading, right?
It certainly is. You're either on a roll or you're taking shit. So
So all right, Frankie, round 3. All right, we got 3 rounds. That was chalk. First 2 round, even match. What do you
Ooh,
got?
all
for us?
right. I am going to go with SunPower, SPWR. And I'm going to stay on the directional bandwagon, as oftentimes I tend to do. These guys, nothing crazy going on here, but we've been seeing some reversal characteristics, not just within these with them, but within the solar area as a whole. We all know that when it wants to, solar can move. Hopefully, this is one of the times that it would want to do so. So unlike some of the other things that were maybe flying high, these guys, I mean, they've got a ways to go before they're flying high, right? They've got a ways to go till they're back approaching those old highs. I like that we've spent the last couple of weeks really consolidating in a very consistent range while holding the upward trend that has developed. So all along the way, we've been making higher highs and higher lows. This last approximately 2 weeks, we've not really been able to make that higher high, but we have been able to continue to make those higher lows, which is always a positive sign as far as I am concerned. I think this one's fairly simple in how we get in. I think we want to take out the high from the 14th, Greg. That puts us at 2738 plus our rule. I think if you're a little more aggressive than me, maybe you could argue coming in above today's high, but it's not going to cost you much just to make sure that intraday doesn't mess around with you too terribly much. Now, what I would ideally like to see here is it not to break tomorrow. Ideally, if I'm being honest, I would like it to pull back just a little bit and break next week. But we're talking on a Wednesday, so we'll see if we get that or not. I do think if we break out, that is still a legitimate breakout. I just think I'd like it better if it cooked a little bit, but it's not like we're overextended by any stretch of the imagination overall with consolidating the last couple of weeks. Their first real challenge past the breakout is going to be right around $30. There's an old pivot there. That's also approximately where the 20 weekly is. So that's in my opinion, that's the big fight. That's going to be a tough one to break, a tough one to win. But what I always like about reversals is not the first one. I always look for space. Hey, can I make this trade? Am I comfortable making it if I get just to the first fight and lose, right? Which means I want to at least get a 1-to-1 risk to reward ratio when I'm setting that up for a first target. Because what I really like is if I win that fight, that really can establish into a new trend. And there is a lot of upward potential beyond that fight. I think for a second target, if we can win that, and things may likely to, we'll probably develop between now and then if we can, take out that pivot in that 20 weekly, but 35 at an old pivot, an old level of resistance really stands out. So there is a lot of upside if this reversal can come through for us. That's what I really like about reversals. I think for me, the way I like to approach them is you get into them aggressively, right, from an entry point of view, because you never know which ones are going to win. 2 or 3 fights. If these guys win 2 or 3 fights, all of a sudden they're at 35, they're 38, they're at $40. Will it be them? I promise I would tell everybody here if I knew it was them. But I know that every reversal I trade has that possibility, right? Just like it might not even get to the first fight. So I like the risk to reward beyond that first target. I do want to make sure that's 1-to-1. Just because I think that's a tough fight. And if I want to be a little more conservative, I'll let that breakout occur and I'll trade the developing pattern beyond $30. So I don't have to trade this breakout tomorrow or off of this pattern. I can look to the next one, the break of the 30, which would be, in my opinion, and who knows exactly what it looks like, but I probably will like that one a little bit more. I'm just guessing, knowing myself.
Yeah, another.
Sorry, I was on mute. I was telling my daughter goodbye, Mom. Pick up all that good stuff. I am a cash flow trader. You both know that. I 90%. I love cash flow, and I have loved. I like the solar space after the big sell-off. I like the stabilization, and man, so my eyes gravitate to cash flow. And on solar stocks lately, I've been like, this might be one of those times I break down and go directional. Like the cash flow elements I love, like naked puts, covered calls, everything. I love solar and cash flow on these charts right now. But I was like, I might go some directional here. I might go some directional here. So obviously, I love the chart. What do you think, Frank? What do you think, Greg?
Yeah, it's like it's like when we were talking about CRM and a lot of the setups we saw this past week. This is your reversal. It's showing you in real time that it's gathering strength, right? What I like about and I don't know if Frank looks at this like I do. Look at where these moving averages are. They've all coiled together like a spring, and that tends to give you a lot of energy breaking out. So, like I said, that first target I think is 100% in play, and really with all that energy building up of those moving averages together, because you can see what happens when things start to move, right? So if I bring this out a little bit, right? So you could see when this started to really get beat down, all of a sudden the moving averages spread apart, right? But when they're together, like they were down here, right, you get these kind of explosive movements, right? And then finally, when they get too far apart, they start to come back down. Well, you're just at that point now with that reversal. You've got those moving averages is coiled together. Like I said, I always look for those, and I look for the energy that's built up there. And I think there's a massive potential here. I love the trade. Just hard to. I love to argue with you and cause some controversy here, but maybe I have to give you the Stockton slap or something just to get some energy in here. But no, it's again. I've never argued with Frank on a good trade because it's a good trade. So
good trade is good trade. Hey, Greg, you brought me plenty of good trades over the months. Listen, you've won this program, I think, the most out of any individual. Frank's on a streak lately that's trying to upend all of that. So you bring me some good charts too. What you got for me in round 3?
All right, going back to the Ford well. Everybody who knows me knows I'm not keen on car companies just from a fundamental standpoint. They need more bailouts than than energy companies, pretty much it seems, or airlines. But anyway, I cannot argue with the Ford Motor Company and what it's been doing. Obviously, lots of scuttlebutt around these guys about the EV movement and all this stuff. I happen to own one of their trucks. Apparently, a couple of years from now, they're going to have nothing but electrical vehicles, from what I've been told. But anyway, what I really like here is again the technical setup. So big solid run, all-time high. Or not all-time high. I don't know if that's an all-time high, but recent high, and then gets beat down a little bit and puts in a nice rounding bottom here. This is one of the technical things that I look for most, because a lot of the time, obviously, there's nothing all the time in trading, but a lot of the time when you see this rounding bottom, it tends to mean at least a short to intermediate trend change. So if we look at this from a short-term trend, it was trending downwards, right? Now we've got this rounding bottom. Well, if it follows through as I expect it to, then we're going to get that uptrend, and we're going to push back to at least to that old high right there, which is not that far away. But on a 49 ATR stock, we get in this trade above this high here, which is 1553. That's a 3 ATR move. So it doesn't look like much on the chart here itself, but that's a 3 ATR move, and for a cheap stock, it can make for a decent play. And you get the little bonus addition here is if you get in here and get your 3 ATR move, right? You can move your stop loss up to reasonable levels, and if you get that breakout, maybe you get some more run out of it. We start looking at the weekly chart here. Well, look at there's nothing slowing you down. You're off to the races here. Nice little flag pattern here on the weekly with a real strong week this week. There's nothing not to like here. And I thought with this pick here, I'd bring something that everybody can get involved with, right? It's a $15 stock. Everybody can buy a few shares and go for the ride in this thing. Stop loss wise, I want to be down below this, the bottom of this, coiling, or this cup here, whatever you want to call it, rounding bottom. I want to be below there. So 1450-ish would get you a nice wide stop there. It gets you below all this stuff here, get you below the 20 as well. So you've got lots of support there. You've got a scenario or a story, like I said, with the EV, thing being still in play here. You've got a good story, you've got a good setup, and you've got a cheap stock. So I just think it's an easy play to do. Get yourself in, above this high, get yourself a stop loss, look for a target, easy peasy.
Yeah, no, and I thought for sure Frank was going to win that round in my head, for sure, like by a ways, because I just thought, listen, it just plays to what I love right now. I love the solar play, but Greg, you counter with the stock that has treated me so well over the last 8 months from a cash flow perspective. I have loved cash flow on Ford. I love the long-term story of the EV movement because the long-term story of the EV movement will provide, I don't know, about 45 headlines in the next 2 years that can help jolt it along the way. And as a cash flow trader, I love stability, right? So you can trade sideways. And you both brought me cash flow plays that also have a directional kicker to them. And so that directional kicker on him gives me some flexibility how I'm playing. Love both picks. Love both picks. It looks like a great even round. So Greg, you might win or lose depending on your jokes. This match is so close.
All right. It's a bit of a longer joke, but I think it's a good one. Two friends are out walking their dogs together. One has a big black lab and the other has a minuscule chihuahua. They pass a bar and the lab owner says, "Let's go get a beer." The chihuahua walker complains, "That would be great, but we can't take our dogs in there." The first owner says, "Watch me." The lab owner strolls in with her dog and orders a beer. The bartender tells her, "Sorry, you can't bring your dog in here." And she says, "He's my seeing eye dog." The woman replies, feigning offense. The bartender quickly apologizes and serves her a beer. So the other woman follows suit, her chihuahua in tow, and orders a beer as well. Again, the bartender says there are no dogs allowed in the bar. And she says, "He's my seeing eye dog." The woman replies. The bartender says, "Yeah, right. A chihuahua? Give me a break." And without missing the beat, the woman says, "They gave me a chihuahua?"
That is a good one. That was worth the.
Yeah, I'm all right with that.
All right, that's a good joke. That's a good joke. Nice halfway intermission. We got 2 picks left from each of you. Frank, what do you got round 4?
All right, I am coming at you with roadblocks for the next one, RBLX.
Frank's like, I'm gonna win this today because I'm gonna give Mark some solars, some Roblox. All right, let's see what you got. What are you seeing there?
All right, well, technically, we broke out, right? We broke out, and we don't have a long history, of course, but we broke out back May 23rd, May 24th. Broke out, have pulled back, and have spent the last week kind of dancing around that old resistance, testing it as support. Happens to line up pretty nicely with that 50-day moving average as well, stabilizing here a little bit. I think if you look at these guys on a weekly chart, Greg, it looks a little, maybe I think it stands out a little bit more. Maybe that's just me. Cody special on the weekly chart, right? Breakout snapback into that old breakout channel to see if we want to test that as a level of resistance. Now, what I like, and this is just me, I like letting this week play out and coming in off of, let's pretend that weekly candle is the Friday candle. I want to come in above that high and exit below that low. So I'm looking at waiting personally for an entry. Not that I don't think you couldn't get in. We'll look at it on the daily too, but I would be more comfortable if this was the way it looks at the end of the week. Now, by waiting, I mean, it might be a great idea. And I also, it might have 2 great days in a row and I'm just sitting here wondering what happened, right? So that's going to be a debate, I think, for some traders, because I really do think that the strength of the weekly really makes a lot of sense there. Of course, we could do something just like get in above today's high with the same general stop loss philosophy, right? Below that weekly low. Basically, what we're doing is we've seen that it stopped going down. We've seen that it started going off of that low that we put in on Monday. So we're betting on that support level, right? That's the first step in the game. And then we're squabbling over how we would individually get into it, I guess would be my philosophy. So it could be above today's high, it could be above the weekly, going into next week. These guys can move, right? If we can win this fight, then, there's really, we've got the moving average, we've got the 20-day moving average, right? That's currently above us that might play a factor as a potential stalling point, at least. But beyond that, we really don't have anything until we get back into that 100 level of resistance. So our risk to reward is going to be good, right? That's as high as they've ever been with their short history. certainly a stock that people tend to like in its short history. With Roblox, I think, Mark, and I would imagine you've been selling credit or naked puts on it when you've been playing it.
Yeah, particularly I like the 65 in August right now, a decent credit, and most importantly, above a support level that was tested multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
I like Roblox from a long-term view, as long as the kids keep playing, right? And that's big with Roblox because
Sure.
like, kids, I mean, fads are fads sometimes, right? Fads are fads, and so that's the one risk with a long-term cash flow play in Roblox. But man, they have a lot of diversity and the people keep playing it. So, I mean, keeping an eye on those users, but I do like the 65 August naked puts.
So yeah, I think that makes sense if you want to take the cash flow route, the 65. I mean, that's great, right? I mean, you've got a lot propping you up between here and there. From a directional point of view, Greg, I don't know, would this be more of a cash flow for you or more of a directional play for you?
If you were to... For me, it's I'd probably play this directionally. What I like about this here, and I like the fact that you looked at the weekly for this reason, is we really don't have a lot of evidence yet that this is reversing, right? So we need that little extra. So when we look at the weekly there, it'd be good to see it get up above that level there, the high of the weekly there, just because then it gives us I guess you could call it a flag pattern here. We want to see that break, but there's still a little bit of work to do here as far as I'm concerned. You got to get above that 20. I'm not interested in getting into it unless it is above that 20 moving average there myself. But I do, the reason I want to play this directionally, like, don't get me wrong, I love Mark's cash flow play because it is a solid premium for this stock, and near like a 13 delta, so that's decent. But what I like here is the risk reward. You get in around 86 and change. Your availability is up to $1.04 there, right? That's a solid, for a $5 ATR, that's a solid return. And really, I don't see a lot here. Maybe 95 slows you down, or the round number might cause you to pause a little bit. But even if it does, your risk reward is still solid. So I personally would play this one directionally myself. I also have a kind of a bit of a rule. I only do naked puts on things I want to own, I'll say longer term, pretty much. And so with this doing a naked put, I don't really know much about this company, but I do know that fundamentally it's not what I look for. So directionally, I think is the way to go for me on this one.
Yeah, and that's where my head would be as well. I understand the cash flow argument, but I would kind of be looking at it in a similar light.
Yeah. Neither one of you has had their daughter have you spend like $500 on Roblox gift cards in the last 6 months.
That is true.
Yeah, but I remember when kids were spending $800 on a Cabbage Patch doll,
and that's the fad element.
I know how that turned out. So
yeah, that's the fad element of children behavior, and that is for me the one big dark cloud. I mean, if you're super conservative, it wouldn't surprise me that neither one of you are like, yeah, listen, that's come and go. I get that, but I like the pick, and I like the oomph. If you can get all of the technical signals on this, I do like the directional oomph here. Because companies like Roblox, when they can get that technicals, just be sure to take those profits. Stop going to the moon. Be sure if you get healthy profits, take them. All right, Greg, what you got for us round 4?
Yeah, I'm gonna save my best for last year, so I gotta flip a coin here. Do I want to go energy, or do we want to repeat the solar conversation? I think I'll go the energy. I think we beat the solar to death here. So XOM. So ExxonMobil, largest oil corporation on the planet. I was doing some reading today. They're restricting supply again. Obviously the crude oil chart's been rocking and rolling here. I like the other story about XOM. They're obviously trying to go a little bit more green. Being one of the bigger oil companies, they're trying to get into that space, if you will. So I think that's an important thing. Strength wise, they're doing fantastic. Of course, now we're sitting at a technical level, which I like. Basically we're starting to high base here. We're at a $65 level here. I think Exxon's a juggernaut. The other part that Exxon does a lot of, which a lot of folks don't know, is polymers or plastics. And with the push to EV, if you've ever looked at a brand new car, I think about 85% of it now is plastic. And the further we get to electric vehicles, the more plastic they basically seem to have in them. So having said that, I think Exxon is poised to do well going forward, because a lot of their business is polymer based, right? They do have a big market share of that. So fundamentally speaking, I think Exxon's got a good setup, and obviously chart wise, I think they're good to go as well. I like the break of 65. We may run into some resistance right there at 67 because it's within an ATR. This is my rule. Doesn't work for everybody, but because we're within an ATR, now that's a weekly ATR, mind you, I don't really get too concerned about that 67 level myself. I think it can breach that very quickly. And when it does, as we looked at on the weekly here, once it gets past there, I would say that 80 to 82 is in play. You may find a little bit of slowdown, maybe even at 78, but I think secondary target wise, you've got a fair ways to go there. So you do have earnings coming up, so this is important to note, but it's not until July 30th, right? So you've got the better part of 6 weeks, 5-6 weeks there. So you've got potential for this thing to run. The way I looked at this is the way I look at a lot of things. Just your straight bull call. Again, the reasoning is look where the implied volatility is. It's down, right? I can't justify selling credit when the implied volatility is on the bottom there. So pretty simple. Again, just August bull call. I like the 65. I think it can get to 70 with no problem. I sell the 70. So now you're $1.48. So $148 a contract. So everybody can participate in this trade. It's not out of reach for, even the smallest of accounts. You put out $1.50 to make $3.52. So you're more than 2 to 1. Just a great little setup of one of the stronger oil companies out there. Even kind of the beat down that it had, came down, found some nice support there, and didn't take too long to get back up there. So just a break of 65, I think is a great play in the energy space here.
I mean, I love it. This thing has been a cash flow darling for months now. I mean, for the better part of 8 months. I mean, it's just been an A+ cash flow stock. I continue to love the long-term story here. What Exxon has done from a cost-cutting perspective, I think, is impressive. There's not a lot not to like from my perspective. I just like it more from a cash flow perspective, because I want to be playing Exxon for the next year, maybe 2. Eventually, there's going to be a time in oil where you want to let go, but I don't think that time's anytime soon. So love it.
Yeah, real nice.
You got anything to add, Frankie?
Oh, nope. I just said real nice. Now I'm waiting for my joke. I was promised a joke.
We want the joke.
All right.
I enjoyed the last joke. I liked it a lot. Let's see what you got.
All right. What's 6 inches long, 2 inches wide, and makes everyone go crazy?
I really don't want to know.
$100 bill. Get your mind out of the gutter, Mark. Get your mind out of the gutter.
Fair enough. Listen, I like my Benjamins. Listen, I mean, there are a lot of things I could do for fun, right? I like stock market. I enjoy it independently, but I do enjoy making money. Hey, and you guys have given me 4 good picks, each of you. I've loved it. This is why I love Trade Masters. I get ideas. Some on my radar, some weren't. You got one last round. This thing's close. I mean, there's so much textbook amazingness here. Impress me. Best pick probably wins this round.
Oh, see, there you go. Well, I've been, while Greg was talking Exxon, I was debating, do I really want to bring a bearish play here? And now that I know I've got to bring, I know I'm not going to get you on a bearish play, so I'm going to have no choice. You made the decision easy for me, and I'm going to visit an Airbnb, ABNB, Greg. These guys another reversal candidate, right? They've been kind of turning around. What I really like about these guys, and I think you might like it as well, Mark, is we're developing a pinch between the rising 9 and the falling 50-day moving average. And we spend a fair amount of time. So you can kind of see when we get those pinches, anyone who's not familiar, it's one axis support, other axis as resistance. Sooner or later, we got to make up our mind, right? And that's kind of the idea behind it. If it were to break to the downside, that would kind of invalidate this pattern, at least in the short term, and would certainly be a bearish signal. Whether a bearish trade, I don't know. But if it breaks to the upside, I do think that is at least a potential trading opportunity to take a look at. Number one, we've got to get through that. And I will always argue when it comes to, breaking things, the close is a lot more important than sticking your nose above there. I always want to see the close. It's a little more conservative, but it's going to keep you out of a few fake outs. And that's going to be, up to the individual. Very clear path until approximately 170. Now we've got some old resistance, right? Our first level of resistance, swing style, back in December was at that 170 range. That ultimately became a heck of a strong level of support for the stock in the following months. Got a nice window, though, between this break of the 50 and that 170. That's also going to probably be in the same general ballpark of that 20 weekly if and when we get to that. So that should be a pretty legitimate test for us. Right now, I think targeting wise, that's where I'm really trying to go. If we win that fight, yes, there's more upside. But we've got so much history. That's just not once or twice. There's a lot of history in that 170 ballpark. I think that makes a lot of sense from a targeting perspective. Probably going to be looking at some sort of a spread with the cost here. We can take a look at that here in a moment. But one thing I would like to ideally have from a stop loss perspective is that below that rising 20. So assuming I get that break and close above the 50 SMA, and I still, if it runs all the way to 165, I probably just missed out. But assuming I feel like I have enough risk to reward there, I want to get that stop loss below that rising 20, if at all possible, to kind of have multiple things holding that trade together if we do need to pull back along the way. So while it could very easily just be a straight equity play, I think at this price range, I think you could legitimately look at some sort of a spread, and assuming our options kind of roll with the theme of the night and not particularly expensive right now, I think another debit spread could make some sense with these guys. And again, the flexibility is going to be there with how you like to go about it. But typically for me, I kind of think about it, buy the call you would have bought anyway, sell something to give you a net delta of 25 to 30. You can widen it out if you would like to do so. So Greg, that would probably put me somewhere around there, picking up the August 150 and selling probably the 175, maybe the 170, actually 170, 175, somewhere in there.
Listen, I like this company. I hate the valuation. I absolutely love that chart from a directional short-term basis.
Yeah, and I don't really have an opinion about the company from a long-term. I very rarely do.
You're a technician.
I like Coke. I like oak. I like things with I like Coke and oak. So, but ultimately, and my philosophy is always this when it comes to directional trading and trading in general, is nobody but me cares about the strategy I'm going to select. I always evaluate based solely on, as if I'm going to trade the equity, because that very well might be the way that I need to go for one reason or another. And then once I've decided, okay, everything, all the boxes are checked there, now let's price a long call. Is volatility really low? Maybe we could roll it into a spread. Let's see how the different strategies would match up with my read of the situation. I think one mistake I made when I first got into options was I'd come into it saying I want to do a bull call or a call ratio or whatever, and I think that can get you into trouble. I think you want to go price first and then work into your strategy.
Yeah, no, I mean, you might be the most unbiased chartist I know. I'm biased. Listen, if I don't have an opinion on a company, I don't have any interest in it. You are not like that. It's a beautiful setup.
Yeah, well, don't ask Boeing and Greg. I'm very biased with Boeing.
Yeah, I don't know how many times I've had that vetoed on a Friday.
A few.
Well, hey, shock. Frank brought a
Fair
great
enough.
chart
Yeah.
in the final round, Greg. But you saved your best for last. You got me curious. What do you got?
I am throwing the nuke here for my boy Frank there.
I like it.
Actually, this is going to play right into your hands there. I hope there, Marky Mark. I'm going with Target. You guys taught me all about Target last Friday there. This is I was telling, for those who weren't in the meeting, I was telling a story about when my wife and I were down in Florida, and we went into both a Target and a Walmart, and I was trying to figure out why Target was 30 to 40% higher on basically the same price or the same item. And you guys explained it to me. It's Target, not Target.
It's Target.
So, that's right. So I learned something new. But anyway, what I didn't need to learn new here is what this trade has been doing for a long, long time. I want to start with the weekly here, because this trade is going to be a little bit different than what we're used to. But I want you to take a look at the work of this thing on a weekly chart. This thing is just channeling up here like a champ. Then if we go to the daily chart here, we're right at the height of this here, but we're also sitting on a breakout, and this thing has basically just rewarded you over time just for hanging out there. And so what I really like about this, I just don't see what's going to turn this thing down. Not like I said, since what is that, mid-April, just till now, it's just gangbusters. So the trade I like here, and again, this is going to be a little bit different. I'm not looking swing here. I'm looking to make money over time. And so for that reason there, got a couple of different options here. I'm actually going to go with the August here. I wish that they had September, but they don't. If you wanted to do the same trade in October, I wouldn't fault you for that either. But I like to kind of keep things a little bit shorter term, because it allows me to, if I choose to get out of the trade early, I can. If I want to stay in it, I can always roll out again. So what I'm looking at here, kids, is a diagonal spread, or the artist formerly known as a poor boy cover call. What I want to take advantage of is this channeling. I fully expect that this thing will pull back to this lower trend line at some point in time. But I also fully expect that it will be at that upper trend line at some point in time. So really what I'm looking at here is I want to take advantage of delta and theta. I want both. I want my cake and I want to eat it too. So what I was looking at here is buying the 240. You're putting out about $815 a contract. I like to do these a little bit different than most. Some folks will just sell monthly options, and that's completely fine. Target is it's got lots of volume, no issue there. I like to sell bi-weekly options on this thing. So what I like to do is I would go out and I would look at the price as it is now, 237. I kind of look at the expected move at $6.50 there. So was that about 243? So I'm going to go out and I'm going to sell the 240, 250 there. Okay, so you're looking at $725 in this trade. So legitimately, if you do nothing between now and August, that is your risk on this trade. Sorry, let me get rid of some of this stuff here so we can see this. See that I was playing around with this. Let's go back here again. Where did my trade go? There we go. Come on now. So analyze this trade. So you're going to see a very funky risk graph if you've never done these before. I will tell you the limits of Think or Swim. They cannot tell us what our overall projection would be because we're only selling 2 weeks out. I would be selling every 2 weeks to get theta on this trade. What I like about this is where this peak is here. If we hit 240, 250, this gives me the ability to keep rolling this forward and moving this peak over and over and over. Now, if I'm wrong on the chart itself and it doesn't do the breakout, which it currently is, it's already breaking out now, but if it doesn't continue its way up, I can sit here and sell credit all the way up until August. I'm going to have how many rolls? So if we just look at it bi-weekly here, so 1, 2, 3, probably about 4 rolls out of this. If I get, say, $1 each time, I was going to get 85 to 90 cents here. If I get $1 each time, that narrows my loss down to about $300. That's if I'm dead wrong, which I don't think I am. So now I've got theta working for me by selling short term. I've got a theta positive trade, and I've got the ability to crush this thing if it continues to go. So just a little cash flow play here, something a little different. Like you said, it's going to be a little bit more active. I actually have even done these where I've sold them every week as opposed to bi-weekly. But if you're less active, you can go bi-weekly. And I just love the potential of Target to keep going in this channel.
Yeah, listen, you both have, listen, you guys are both professionals. And I mean that. This has been a pleasure tonight. I love all of these picks. I really do. Like, because I can see myself working them because the technical patterns are so strong. Some of them have better sentiment stories than other and all that, but the technical patterns here are so strong. I expected nothing less. Like your innovation there on Target. Listen, and whenever you go to Target and you just can't justify the money, just pretend you're shopping at some bougie Target. It helps out, This is a close thing, Greg. If you make me laugh with your last joke, you win. If you don't, you lose.
All right, fair enough.
Pressure.
All right. So once my dog ate all the Scrabble tiles. He kept leaving little messages all around the house. I hear laughter.
If you're a dog owner, you laugh.
I'm a critter owner. I've owned critters my whole life. I just pictured the messages that my critters leave me.
Listen, I'm not happy to lose, but if I have to lose to that joke, I can live with it.
So Frankie, listen, A plus work. Obviously, this was ridiculously close. Seriously, awesome picks, lots of good ideas. My favorite ones. My goodness gracious. Probably, some power forward, Exxon, Target, even Marvel. These have all treated me really, really, really well, and you're giving me great setups. Love it. Listen, this is quality stuff. Listen, as someone who's been around a while, just watching these two minds at work tonight, it's good stuff. But thank you so much for coming out tonight, Tackle Trading. And if you're watching this on recording, these two are two of the best. You can catch Frank all the time on Monday nights on onboarding on Tackle Trading. And Greg, you can catch him for pro members in 27 minutes doing Traders Lounge at night. Also got Bear Market Survival Guide for members later on tonight after Trading Lounge at night. So full pack show for our pro members the rest of the night. For now, though, Tackle Trading signing off. We love you all. Thank you for showing up.